to Fallon Mulhall. Fallon Mulhall, I met her a couple of years ago. She did my diploma of remedial massage with the Australian College of Natural Health, and she's also involved in competitive horse riding where she's representing Australia. And I'd like you now to let her tell you the story about how she found the courses and energetics and so forth. So over to you, Fallon.
Before I first started with the access energy and that, I sort of got into, when I was younger, I was very competitive on my horses, trained them all myself, had a good connection with them, was very competitive in everything I did, you know, loved doing it. And I sort of got to that stage, I moved up here with my other half, I suppose moving into a new area. I was starting to have a bit of trouble with him. I didn't have that connection with my horses anymore. Things started to really frustrate me with different stuff that I never did before. Just pretty much nothing made sense to me anymore, real mixed up with everything. And after doing the course, I noticed after the first time doing it, had a lot better relationship with my horses. You know, I
what kind of relationship?
Like I'm very thin with my horses. I like to be able to walk to the paddock, call them.
Yep.
They come up to me. I can be around them without having a halter on them and stuff. If I go through the paddock, they'll follow me, like that connection with them.
Yep.
And
so you found you lost it.
I really had. I'd get to a paddock and I'd have to go and chase the horses in. When I'd have them in little round pens, I'd have to block them up to put halters on them. They didn't sort of want to be around me.
Right.
And really noticed just the animals I had, like I had dogs and chooks, and I've always been very close with animals. But I'd got to that stage where I couldn't even keep my dogs near
so
me.
You felt
like,
a bit distant from
yeah,
them. Yeah,
it was like there was like an energy getting around me that they just didn't want to be near me. Just anything at all. They just didn't want to be near me. Even when it come to tucker time, I'd feed them, they'd go away straight away. And then after doing the course and that, I noticed my horses come a little bit more in tune with me.
Right.
To the stage of I could walk to the paddock, they'd see me, I wouldn't even have to say anything and they'd be straight to the fence. I could bring them out of the yard without no halters or that and sort of just, you know, lead them into a pen. Working them, I could go and get on other people's horses that they had buck and, you know, do a lot of stuff. I could get on them and just with hardly
So did
barely
you feel you had more space with it? Or?
A lot more. I felt like I was a lot more open to them,
right.
a lot more intake. Like, you know, it was like they were, in terms, like it was easier for them to talk to me.
Right.
Even all, like my other half, he'd go near the horses and they wouldn't connect with him. But I could walk there, same horse, I could hop on it, ride it, no worries. He'd hop on it after me and it'd just want to do the opposite for him.
Right.
And I really had a connection with them, like they could get in situations, the horses, in a threatening position, and I'd reassure them with stuff like a pat and a bit of a talk and that, and they were very connected to me that much where I could just about put them in any position I wanted to, and they know that I would not have hurt them.
Right.
And after doing the course, I did feel it really opened up, and I think more so that it being brought in front of me, I sort of become more open to it.
Right.
Then I've got more open with the horses to where anyone's horses I work on now, I can come up to them and, you know, see them and that, and pretty much say what's going on with them.
So tell us a little bit about the competitiveness. You were also competitive where you represented Australia.
Yeah, when I was younger, I went to, you know, been to national finals every year as a junior competitor, won Australian titles, state titles. I was pretty much ranked with the older women, competed with them all the time.
So what age were you?
I was only about 13,
right,
you know,
wow.
12, 13. I was right up competing against Australian champions. Then I went to that stage where I wasn't even making it in the top 20, you know, and like not to make it in the top 20s, you know, it was sort of devastating for me really.
Right.
Then once I'd done the course, I went from pretty much within a couple of days of doing this course, I had an event on. I went to it from where I couldn't hit a calf, couldn't understand why.
When you say hit a calf, what do you mean?
Like rope a calf,
right.
Or I barrel race. Like it is, both events I do is a lot to do with the horse and rider.
Right.
And if you're not connected with your horse,
they're like a oneness.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're not connected with your horse, it's very hard for you to. It's pretty much the difference between first and second, you know. And if you are connected with your horse, it is a lot easier to compete. You know, and the same with my rope horse. When I go out and rope a calf, if he's not with me when I back in that box, and he can feel when I'm ready to go, it is you can pretty much miss your calf or catch it.
Right.
And I got to that stage with them where, you know, my barrel racing horse, if I thought that ground was unsure on her, I could walk in that arena, give her a pat, and I know we'd be right on that surface. But when you're not connected with them, you're sort of fighting with them. They slip, they feel insecure with you, so then you're fighting with them.
Right. So tell us, when you made the connection, how did your competitiveness, like you won?
I pretty much went from nothing to I was winning every rodeo. I won 5 rodeos in a row. You know,
Wow.
I went from if I'd catch a calf, I was like a 13, to now I was running like 2 5s every weekend. I was always in the 2s.
Right.
You know, and big wins like, you know, the biggest rodeo in Australia, Emerald. I was winning all the time on it.
So what made that change, do you feel, like when you're doing the course, like what was it that made that change? Was it something I said? Was it something?
I feel it was sort of, after doing the course, before I come, my mind felt very boggled. When I'd go to the rope and pen or to a rodeo, I'd get very flustered with everything and very fuzzy. And then just coming here and just a few things Vince pretty much said, and being in the atmosphere at Vince's place, and the different ways he talks to you, like you don't talk into like too spaced out stuff. It's pretty plain and simple. And I just pretty much noticed as soon as I walked away, a few words you said, you know, when I go to a rodeo and I did get a bit flustered with it all, I just sort of remind myself of them words and think of a few things, and it cleared straight away.
Like, so
you
the
know,
power was in those energy of the words.
I reckon it was in the words.
Right.
And I've even passed that on to my other half. He's a very, you know, nervy person and stuff, and I just said a few words to him, you know, just think of this and that. And, you know, he goes to rodeos and he'll come back and say, you know, I've just won, you know, $8,000. And he said, before I got on that bullet, come down to if I had to ride it for the money, he said, and I just said them few words you told me, which I'd gotten from Vince and that. And he pretty much said that's won me the money. And I've noticed since doing the school...
Your partner also represented Australia also.
He's represented Australia. He's won Australian titles, everything. Like, he rides buck and bulls.
Right.
It's a very strenuous sport on him, very mentally, you know. And he is able at home. He's got to work so much on his mental side of things. And he said even all just the few things I say to him that I've gotten from Vince. Run session on him, do a lot of different massaging on him, but because he has a strenuous job through the week, then he comes to the weekend and it's strenuous getting on a ball, like it is a high tense sport. He did say, like, between all of it, the mixture of Vince's words and like this energy was just